Hey guys, just before we get into the tier list video, if you're part of the 54% of people that watch these videos and aren't subscribed, do yourself a favour, hit that subscribe button. I put a TCG video out every single day. Let's get into the fun stuff. And Jack, I'm going to let you pick the next deck, baby. Which deck do you want to talk about next?
The next deck, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the lightning stuff. Let's talk about Pikarom and Boltund, because you've split these up, and I can understand why.
Yep.
And I think for a tier list, it's pretty fair to split them up. But I think in general, we're going to be seeing a lightning box style deck come out of the woodwork. That's potentially going to include both of Boltund and Pikarom.
Okay.
I don't think Boltund fits into the Pikarom style, and I don't think Pikarom fits into the pure Boltund style.
Yeah.
So I think we could be seeing a lightning box style deck. So that's kind of what I've looked at with Boltund.
Okay.
Pikarom as a deck, I don't think it gains too much. Getting Lysander is really, really big though. Being able to Lysander to on and then Tag Bolt. Tag Bolt is already insanely strong.
Yeah.
The format is kind of very, very fast right now. So sometimes you don't have time to Tag Bolt and you're reliant on the Choo-Choo strategy. But if you can Tag Bolt, having access to Lysander along with the Tag Bolt is, I think, incredibly strong. It means that you can, if you're not winning the game outright, you're able to pick off what your opponent doesn't want you to be Tag Bolting, because they're probably going to be seeing it coming, and then probably take a Dedenne at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Pikarom still stays pretty strong. I think it's probably beginning to get outclassed in terms of HPs, which maybe means that even that is not enough. But I think it's still probably like a tier 1.5 deck, at least in my eyes, just because it shouldn't lose any consistency. You should have theoretically access to better Tag Bolts now, and that's the selling point of the card. So I think that's kind of what I've thought about when it comes to the lightning stuff. Turbo Boltund, I must admit I haven't thought too much about. Me and Joe have chatted about it a little bit, but I haven't thought too much about the archetype outside of that. But in my mind, the two cards are very, very different. One of them, they're just very different decks.
Yeah.
So I can see why you've split them up, but I can also see a third sort of lightning box style archetype come out that maybe uses some of the other sort of different lightning attack as well, because lightning is another type.
Yeah.
So it has so many resources. Thunder Mountain is the best Prism Star Stadium we have. Koko is probably one of the best Prisms we have. So it has, again, so much access to so much, and Toxtricity is another new really nice attacker for it. So I can see some kind of lightning box coming out of the woodwork. But yeah, they're my thoughts on lightning and Pikarom in general.
Okay. When it comes to Turbo Boltund, that's actually, I think, time of recording, that's one I put up yesterday. So when I've been playing with Turbo Boltund, I didn't think there was much synergy with Pikarom, like you said, in the sense that you can't just slam into the Boltund deck because it's a bit expensive. 3 straight lightnings, 150, and it gives up 3 prizes, because I'm playing like an Electro type version as well. You don't really have a 3 prizer down. With that being said, I do have a Alolan Raichu in there, Raichu, just to sort of help to hit your VMAXs. So I can see what you're saying about how they don't sort of go in together. But in regards to a big mash-up lightning bot, that does seem quite interesting, because you get lots of Koko V, that's still around, that's still a nice, easy, 200. Joe, what are your thoughts on some of the new lightning stuff?
I really love Speed Lightning Energy. I think it's crazy card. Anything that gives Pikarom a little bit of extra percentage points of getting a turn 1 full blitz is crazy. I like that Jack mentioned Tag Bolt as like a renewed selling point, and I think you get to Tag Bolt against every Dragapult list as well, because they just don't pressurize you enough. So that's really good as well. So I think Pikarom looks very solid still. Getting Lysander helps out against beating Mill, which has been one of its Achilles heels of this format as well. And that all just looks very promising. So I think Pikarom is still pretty high tier for me. I think it's tier 1. It seems very solid. Even it doesn't gain a lot, but it's 6 cards that goes into the list, and it's spaces that go into the deck as well. Because Pikarom needs space.
Like, even just drawing 2, though, like you said, like, because when I first saw Speed Energy, I was like, okay, this is good, you know, you can't Coco it, how good is this really? But after playing, I'm like, whoa, draw 2, this is stupid! Like, it lets you, like, Volkner and get a little bit of draw, you know, that sort of stuff. And it all adds up, it all adds up.
Picarom's first turn, it's a combo deck, so it's, like, so strong.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, against stuff like Dragapult, like, you are going to get a full blitz mostly. And if they like Vmax and you've hit them for 150 already, if you can then, I'm going to say Guzma then, if you can boss his orders like a benched V, plus power, Tag Bolt killed active, and then start that 5-5 turn, ooh! Yeah. And that doesn't sound too hard to do either, let's be honest. So, yeah, you've sold me there on Pico. I'll put that firmly into tier 1. That sounds good. What about Turbo Boltund, Jay? You giving that any thought?
Yeah. The way I tried to build it was kind of Boltund Coco-esque, where you try and use your Prism Stars and leverage those in the early game to make Boltund be like early pressure.
Yep.
And then you're trying to put excess attachments onto Cocos in the like throughout this process, so you at least have some late game pushes. Maybe try and get over a Dedenne or something to close out games and stuff. I think it lacks a bit of damage output in comparison to other things, but it seems consistent and reasonable as like a pressure deck. So like tier 2.5 or something. I wouldn't put it lower than that just because it'll get onto the board and work every game that you play it.
Yeah, that's the sort of what I found. I mean, my sort of list is a bit different to yours, but I try and use like an Electrode late game, mid-late game. We've combined that with a Stamp, take a big swing KO, and then use say you always Jet Sack early game. But like with that being said, playing the deck, it sounds really good on paper to me. And I mean, I'm a big enthusiast as well. Don't get me wrong, optimist when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I found as if you sort of sit in that 5 to 8 energy range. And unfortunately, in past formats, that would have been fine. But like now, 5 to 8, you're not really. If you put in 5-8 energy on the board and you're not taking one shots, you're sort of like, well, what's the point? But with that all being said, I think 2.5 for now does seem solid because it is going to win games just by going, have this 10 energy occasionally. That will happen. So Turbo Boltund. I've got high hopes for that boy, but I don't know. Even the optimist in me, maybe because I'm getting older now, I'm getting jaded, but that seems good. Let's stay in the lightning area now. Here's something I heard not too long ago, which I didn't even think of. So obviously you've got Toxtricity Vmax, okay, Gmax for that all seems well and good. Then someone was like to me, what are you playing the Vmax for? The baby one, the 90 plus 90, is just as good. So Joe, is that something you thought about? A straight baby Toxtricity V deck?
Honestly, I haven't thought about it, and 180 is not the number that it used to be, so if I was going to play anything like that, it's the Toxtricity Vmax or bust, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, that sounds as much work or more work than Boltund and less consistent and more expensive, so I don't think Baby Tox is ever a deck for me.
Okay, I'm glad we sort of had a bit similar mindsets here. Jack, any thoughts on the baby V?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a dumbed down Vmax, which is obviously what they wanted to do, and I think in this case it's actually worked out for the Vmax, because I think the payoff of the Vmax is the 140 extra HP or whatever you get, which is and the extra 80 damage or however much it is. So yeah. I think it's just outclassed by the Vmax. Again, it's in my mind with this kind of lightning box style deck, you could probably play one or something, but you need to find a way of poisoning then. So I don't know, it feels that like the card alone, it feels kind of weak. I think the Vmax is a stronger archetype to build around.
Yeah, I'm glad we all came to agreement there. This, you know what? Just for that person's cheek, it's going to be our first LOL deck. I didn't think there'd be many LOL decks, but that's where that's going. Now, let's stay. Like, if we are going to play Toxtricity V, let's get the big geezer out. Gmax Royal. Oh, boy. Now, when I first saw Gmax Royal, I thought, okay, it's good. Doesn't quite hit silly numbers I want it to. Is it consistent? 'Cause you have to get a double stage one, because I was going down Garbodor route. I'm not really feeling Koga's Trap, not going to lie. But after playing it, oh, boy, Toxtricity Vmax is a hardcore HP slapper. Oh, my lord. He gets some work done. Joe, what are we feeling about a straight Toxtricity Vmax deck?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it slaps. When you're there, and you just need like one E-power to push, it's like a pretty good feeling. Yeah. And he doesn't remove any energies from himself. Yep. He's just like, I am here. I have over 300 hit points. I'm taking 5 prizes. Yep. And then I'm like using anything to gust for game later. So it's a lot of work, and I think that will not make it a tier 1 archetype, but I think its damage output puts it up there. I think as long as there's tag teams that's a focus, and as long as there's Vmax as a focus, he's got a really good chance. I just don't think the list can naturally compete against Mill. I don't think it can compete against Baby Blounds. Those sorts of things that will throw it down the tier list, but against everything on a level playing field prize-wise, it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, it gives you a fair game there. Jack, have you given much thought to Toxtricity Vmax?
Yeah, I mean, it seems really strong. I don't think it's quite as flexible as Dragapult, but it's probably, like you say, it's just probably harder hitting, and that might be enough to keep it on a par. It has, in my mind, another really big thing is it has a relatively, like we've said, a relatively safe way through a lot of these multiple prizes because you're not bothered about the HP. The only HP that you can't reach sometimes, I should say, is some of the VMAX stuff. And at that point, you have Electro Power. You're one of the only types that can scale, and you can probably scale the best out of any type. So you're going to be running 4 E-Power anyway. So I think even against the stuff that you can't normally reach, you can still reach. So yeah, it seems maybe not quite as strong as Dragapult for me, just because I think Dragapult is probably more versatile. But I think it's probably tier 1.5, just because, again, as we've said, it slaps hard, and it seems like it can, once you're set up, it can just basically do nothing for the rest of the game. You're just announcing an attack every turn and putting your opponent on a clock.
Yeah, that's it. Joe, do you think? I'm sort of thinking the 1.52 range as well. Is that where you're sitting in there as well?
Yeah, I'm dead in that range. Like, even if you miss like Garbodor, you're still hitting 160.
That's it.
So that's super solid. You can tech in like one Koga's Trap just as like an Eldegoss option as well, if people want to gust and kill your Garb in the mid game. So it's like you can punish people in all sorts of ways. So the deck seems good as it is a multiple prize deck. So I think I keep it at 2, but like I really respect it as like fulfilling its role.
Yeah, I think I was going to put it in 2 as well, because at the end of the day, you are a double stage 1 deck, and you have to get 3 energies on. But let me tell you, Pete, like we said, we've got Electro Powers to scale up. If you don't think, was it 240 hits is enough, you've got Electro Powers. And when I was playing it, I completely forgot the poison ticks add up. Like, if they throw anything in the active, you just poison that straight away, and it will build up a couple turns. So, yeah, it can reach those silly numbers. And like I say, it's a hardcore HP slapper, baby. I'm a big fan of that. Right, let's have a little gander. Let's have a gander. So, Joe, this one we sort of free-mod a little bit, and it's something that I want to converse with you a little bit more. Now, today, time of recording, put up a Luxray deck. This is the Luxray that has raid, attacks for 1, does 160, that's very good. But in that deck, I played 2 Zapdos, and I did say in the video that I think there is potential to there be a Zapdos deck standalone with maybe a little bit of Luxray sprinkled in. Now, with that being said, number 1, Joe, my first question is Zapdos back on the map? If that's the case, if yes, how good is it? And then sort of whereabouts would you place it?
Okay, so I don't think Zapdos is like, it's not good enough to be its own thing. It definitely needs a partner because its damage output has got a lot worse. So finding partners is going to be the first challenge, but I do like the tempo that we can have with scoop up nets and with boss's orders and with speed lightning energy. It does gain a lot of inherent toys to play with, which is really cool. So any excuse, I'll try and play Zapdos for sure. And it's like you say, it's if you're going to try and have some gimmicky like Oranguru plus Luxio into Luxray for some like higher damage output, and have Zapdos as the like interim / early game option. Or whether we go back to traditional Ultra Beasts for some power spike turns, or even possibly having some 2 prizes splashed in, like the likes of Coco V and stuff like that, instead, to still take use out of some of those Prism Stars. I think those are all pretty valid. I like the tempo that Zapdos still has. Jirachi is still one of the most played cards in the game, so just choosing early game prizes and then moving on to other attackers seems valid just for racing in general. So I think it's kind of like on the map, but it's going to be a trial and error to see what the best backup is for it. Instinctively, I don't ever want to put it like above tier 2 right now, but I think it'll work a lot more than most of these tier 2.5 decks.
That's fair,
in general. So like just on that alone, I'd put it towards the 2 area rather than like lower than that. If you're naturally playing the scoop up net stuff as well, you can put in the little Jirachi Prism Star and cheese some prizes, because when your damage output isn't that high, maybe just like gusting into Dene for 3 prizes, that can offset a lot. So like that sounds pretty good. So yeah, I think around like the tier 2 category, just for like tempo and then a range of attackers that we need to figure out in the meantime.
Yeah, that seems sensible. Jack, have you given as much Zapdos thought?
I mean, nothing more than that really. It seems like you just need to find the way to make it good enough. Zapdos has really struggled ever since it lost Guzma and Escape Rope, and that still kind of is the case, but we have better gusting now, we have Scoop Up Net now, we have a various array of options of trying to emanate how good Zapbeast was. It will never be that good again, I don't think, but it might just be good enough, like we say, with the tempo that it gains from doing one energy attacks that do a fair amount, building up something for the late game. It could be good enough to match sort of Goons or some of the Mewtwo decks. Sort of power level.
Yeah, I think looking at how the tier list has panned out, I think 2 seems quite sensible there for sure. I hated Zapdos as a deck back in the day. I hated it, but I have to respect it. How? Jack? How, Jack? You're looking at no camera one. Let me tell you why. Because I used to play Granball a lot. This is where I used to love playing Granball. And I think, Zapdos is fine. If I put a bodybuilding dumbbell and like 3 E powers, and you know what annoyed me the most? If I had that Granball, it get to the point, Jack, where that Granball had 3 energy, and I was doing giant fangs because they weren't hitting it. They were going around it every bastard turn. Oh, it stressed me out. Oh, so let's not get Jack, I'm trying to be nice and calm, but no.
The worst part was Joe that said how.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Was it? Sorry, my bad.
We both loved Zapdos.
No, I'm saying you can love it. Don't get me wrong. I respect clowns as a deck, and I'm sure everyone that plays it, they enjoy playing it. I got a lot of heat on Twitter the other day, but don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad deck. I just hate it. I can hate a deck, can't I? I don't have to like a deck, but I know it's good. It just stressed me out every turn. I'm gonna do it all out, and you're gonna hit this snubble. Of course you are. And then they'd line up the Coco. It was like clockwork. It used to really annoy me. I'm like, here comes the Coco turn. Oh, what a surprise. Anyway. Let's keep in this electric. We've got 2 electric decks here left. Morpeko. Now I've put Morpeko there and Pasha. You don't really narrow it down like that. I'm not sure if I'm going down an electric route or if I'm leaning more into the VMAX. But what I do believe that there was this guy in the Neil Pie Open. Shout out to you if you're watching. But I'm sure it was like Stefan sort of popularised it a little bit as well. I think he did some articles and it caught a little bit of wind. But it was like a Morpeko with a 2/2. VMAX with some Coco V's dotted in. Joe, are you familiar with that sort of deck that was knocking about?
Not super familiar with it, to be honest. If it's just the V approach, I don't like it at all because we have better gust, so hit and run doesn't sound smart.
Yep.
But if we're going for the VMAX, I don't see what changes in this format that would make it better.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would instinctively not give it much credit right now.
No, that's fair.
Toxtricity seems to take the mantle of probably like best lightning VMAX, so I wouldn't rate it high at all. Between 3 and LOL, in all honesty, just because there's better gust in the format now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Jack, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I actually played against the VMAX build in the Limitless Open. Happened, but it's going to be on the channel soon. It's a game.
Okay.
I think the deck is basically wiped off because of Boss's Orders being printed. I think there's no reason to really play it when we have 1, 2, 3, potentially maybe even 4 better lightning decks. Hit and run was in my mind, the only selling point of the VMAX line. The VMAX was big and chunky, and spread, but we have better spread options now. Yeah. And hit and run is not going to be an archetype again, and while we've got Boss's Orders, because we just can get around the hit and run strategy. So yeah. I think Morpeko is pretty irrelevant now.
Yeah, especially when the hit and run strategy revolves around the 2 prizer, right? Like if there was like an interim, like a Donphan-esque 1 prizer that was doing between, I don't know, 60 and 100, 120 potentially, where because I'm sure like you were there in the stream, weren't you, Joe? And I was playing the ADP and Tellion, and I was playing against the Morpeko doll, and if you can just summon up the Gust and take multiple prizes every turn, I was just like, what? The custom catch a KO, custom catch a KO, the deck falls apart, and now. That deck was built to find custom catches every turn, but now every deck is gonna have at least 2 bosses orders. It's like, well, so
for sure.
So I think I'm gonna lol it. I actually am. I'm gonna lol it. Sorry, mate. Like you're a little cute geezer. Don't get me wrong. And then in the Nuzlocke, I'm actually currently using the Morpeko, and it's a load of rubbish as well. Don't get me wrong. But you're rubbish in the game, and you're rubbish here, unfortunately, as well. ADP. Hey guys, thanks for watching that video, much appreciated, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't hesitate to subscribe. I try and put out as much stuff here as I can, full deck profiles plus games, topic conversational pieces regarding anything in the TCG. Check out my Twitter, check out my Facebook, that's where you get most of the updates, sort of see what's going on behind the scenes, all that good stuff. Also check out the SoundCloud for the full bi-weekly podcast. If you're interested, if you like the conversational pieces, go check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.